It was supposed to be a straightforward legal battle, the Duke of Sussex against Associated Newspapers, the publisher of the Daily Mail, accusing them of unlawful information gathering. But in the newest chapter of this saga, the private pain of one brother is beginning to overlap with the public strategy of another, and suddenly the case no longer reads as Harry versus the tabloids but as something far more intimate, Harry versus William and Catherine. Formally, the case is about alleged misconduct in the early 2000s, illegal voicemail interceptions, so-called blagging to obtain private records, even tailing and surveillance. Yet buried within the thick folders of documents are details that strike a nerve not because they target Harry, but because they reach into the lives of the Prince and Princess of Wales. Records mention monitoring around William's 21st birthday, and attempts to access Catherine's private phone data back when she was simply a student, long before the crown rested on her head. Legally, it is presented as context. Humanly, it feels like sprinkling salt into old wounds. Lawyers will insist, this is how disclosure works. To show the systemic nature of an industry's abuse, you must include the wider pattern, not just one victim's experience. But within the family lens, the effect is corrosive. In the public arena, where every name becomes a headline and every document a trending hashtag, a single reference to Catherine instantly transforms a dry legal footnote into viral memes, debates, and relentless speculation. And so, inside the Windsor House already under strain from the King's illness and a reshaping monarchy, new tension doesn't come from a judge's ruling but from the echo chamber of noise. William has travelled this road before, though differently. In the early 2000s, he was not a claimant in the spotlight but one of those drawing the curtains against intrusion. There were police operations with code names, parliamentary hearings, harsh condemnations of private detectives, and above all an effort within the palace to contain damage quietly, tightening staff protocols, altering security practices, and quietly settling matters without stirring fresh scandal. One detail is remembered: part of the compensation he received at the time was donated to Invictus, the very project that later became Harry's life's work. The symbolic tie was closed silently, and seemingly for good. So why does this archaeology of the tabloid era resurface now? Is it because Harry's lawyers feel their case needs sharper evidence? Is it a tactical gambit, introduce the names of the heir and his wife, and the publisher feels more pressure to settle? Or is it Harry's attempt to prove the trauma was structural, they targeted not just me, it was a system? Each explanation is at once understandable and dangerous. Understandable, because the press of that era truly operated with ruthless methods. Dangerous, because proving systemic harm comes at the price of re-exposing the private pain of relatives who deliberately chose silence instead of litigation. The problem is not merely that old events are recalled. It is that those events were already processed by institutions years ago. There were official reports, public apologies, corporate reckonings. What might have felt like a contribution to reform 15 years ago now feels like an echo reverberating inside the royal household. And it especially wounds Catherine, whose once private years of youth, family, and early romance are being pulled back into the glare of scrutiny. For her, the line of pain is more delicate than any court transcript. Once a young woman outside the public eye, now forever a princess, she sees her pre-royal life reframed through the lens of someone else's lawsuit. Then comes the financial strain. Legal wars of this scale are punishingly expensive. Both sides already face bloated budgets running into the tens of millions. That pressure tempts every party, the claimant to widen the battlefield, the publisher to fight more viciously, the court to impose stricter controls. Against this backdrop, each new dramatic paragraph entered into evidence is not just a legal maneuver but a gamble with unpredictable consequences. What seems advantageous today could erode tomorrow's chance of reconciliation, not with the press, but within the family itself. There is also the slipperiness of memory from the Operation Motorman years. Some private investigators later recanted confessions, others remembered selectively. For a court, this is normal. Weigh credibility, cross-examine, compare ledgers. But for the public imagination, nuance doesn't matter. All that remains is a name, an event, an exclamation mark. And in that simplified economy of attention, even the cautious phrase documents include attempts to obtain data, becomes they spied on Catherine. The shadow stretches again toward Kensington Palace. Public patience is wearing thin. Ironically, Harry and William are trapped in mirrored positions. Harry believes that until he confronts the press legally and proves the truth, reconciliation with his family is impossible. First truth, then healing. William believes the opposite, that until the echo of litigation stops, healing cannot begin. First silence, then conversation. Both positions are sincere. Both block each other. And every new legal maneuver that drags Catherine or the children into the narrative only pushes their fragile boat of dialogue further underwater. So what is the way forward? The answer is unsatisfying for a headline but essential for strategy. Narrow the field. This lawsuit must be about Harry, his data, his damages, his evidence. Anything concerning third parties, no matter how illustrative of the wider rot, should undergo a strict test. Would the judge truly fail to grasp the case without it? If not, then it is not evidence, it is noise. Less noise in the courtroom could mean more peace at the dinner table. Equally, it requires accepting asymmetry. Settling with a publisher is economics. Reconciling with a brother is anthropology. One cannot be traded for the other at the exchange rate of the news cycle. Harry might win millions and yet lose the unspoken invitation to a family gathering. Sometimes the smaller dossier in court preserves the larger possibility of family in life. The larger paradox is that both couples, the Waleses and the Sussexes, could, in theory, complement each other. William and Catherine embody the discipline of institution, steadiness, continuity. Harry and Meghan bring empathy, raw honesty, and questions that force uncomfortable reflection. Together, they would balance form with feeling. Instead, they are framed as rivals on a chessboard, every move interpreted as an answer to the others. As long as that remains true, each legal battle Harry wages against the press will be read as a battle against William even if the claim never mentions him. And all the more when it does. The final risk is structural. Yes, Harry may have valid claims, the industry did commit abuses, victims did suffer. But highlighting the system through the excavation of relatives' private histories risks drawing a new red line that should never be crossed. Because tomorrow the same tactic could be turned against him, his own private moments resurfacing as context in someone else's case. The media ecosystem remembers tricks and delights in returning them. And so, another Netflix interview will come, with Harry insisting, "I am misunderstood." Perhaps he is. But the real metric of understanding lies in who you inadvertently drag into the fire with you. If winning against the press requires reopening William and Catherine's wounds from 20 years ago, then the issue is not courage or truth, it is cost. And the currency being spent belongs not to him alone, but to those he once vowed to shield. In the end, the most powerful outcome is not a headline screaming, "Prince expands case with new explosive evidence." It is a dull procedural note. The court admitted new materials relating to the claimant's personal experiences. Sometimes boredom is the most luxurious gesture in a world addicted to drama. And perhaps boredom, the absence of spectacle, is also the safest investment in the hope that one day, at a quiet family dinner, they will all sit together again. Without cameras. Without documents. Without the need to prove who was right in the early 2000s.